Hello, everyone, and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick. This is, what shall I call it? We're going to have a mess debate. That's what we're going to do. So on tonight's show, we've got a big discussion ahead. But before we get there, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification button, and don't forget to drop a like on the video because it does really help us. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, I'm going to break down exactly why I believe that West Ham are at a crossroads again and why we need to act before it's too late. I think we're in a good position, but we are indeed at a crossroads, even at this stage in Potter's reign. And after that, I'm going to be opening up the phone lines and taking your calls because, look, I do want to hear your thoughts on everything that I cover in this video. I'm going to rattle through a load of points, a load of observations, a load of concerns, and then I want the discussion piece and the debate to be with you lot. All right? And this tonight, it's going to be a little bit different with the phone-ins. So I've got some key discussion points lined up for each caller. So look, whether you agree, disagree, or you've got your own take, tonight's all about conversation and debate. So it will be different. I'm going to lead the conversation because I'm going to ask you questions. Good questions, all related to what we're talking about now, just to get your take on things. So look, sit tight and get ready to have your say. As I was saying at the start of this video, West Ham, I believe, are at a crossroads. So I'm going to caveat everything first of all. It is fantastic that the fans, myself, that we're happy with the manager, with Potter. Because as I've said in my previous video, the signs under Potter, they're more than promising. We're seeing a shift in style. We're seeing glimpses of a long-term vision. And finally, we've got a manager who wants to take this club forward. He's bringing kids into the team. It's all good, right? It's all good. But there is a but. We can't allow ourselves to get carried away and accept the path that is being laid before us by the little man at the top of the tree. We can't do it. We're currently sitting 14th place, but there's 15 games left of this season. 15 games left is 45 points. That's a lot. There's no reason we still shouldn't be showing ambition now at this stage. We've got 27 on the board, 45 points. You don't expect to win them all, but you've got to at least show the ambition to go out there and try and win them. So with just a few days of this window left, the board have got to act, and they've got to act now. They've got to. Because if you look at the way that Potter's been playing, the way that he does typically play, it is high intensity. Look at the Villa game. Look at the way we've had a few players that have got injured already. Somerville, when he's running up and down as a wing-back. We're seeing the same with Wan-Bissaka. The pressing in midfield. The way that Paqueta, you know, he got a bit of a knock. It's high energy. Now, it isn't as mental as Ange Ball, but when you play a higher intensity game, which is exactly what I want to see, mind, the pitfalls are you're going to get injuries. Hamstrings are going to pop. Things are going to go. You need squad depth. And I've seen some fans and media outlets at the moment, they're saying, there's no point spending now, you know? What are you doing? You're buying into the Sullivan narrative. You're letting him off the hook. And in my opinion, they're missing the bigger picture. So let me break it down. In terms of this season so far, it's been sabotaged completely by Sullivan's mismanagement, right? It was Sullivan who went for a cheap, well, unsafe option in Lopetegui, which led to an awful start to this season. And that was only one of the mistakes, you know. It was Sullivan who later dithered over Potter's appointment, burning far more of this season than necessary. Lopetegui should have been gone way before he was gone, you know. When was Potter supposed to be coming in? Was it the start of November? Do you know what I mean? Prior to that, you know, it was Sullivan. This was before Lopetegui came in. It was Sullivan who promised Tim Steidten full control, full autonomy at the end of last season. And that is exactly why Moyes rejected his contract extension. Because Sullivan used Steidten, I believe, because Moyes had control over transfers, to get Moyes out the door. I do believe that. Because as soon as Moyes left, Sullivan revoked that promise and he brought in a manager that Tim didn't even want. Sullivan wanted control back. The summer transfer window, completely directionless, wasn't it? You know, recruitment was split between Sullivan, Steidten and Loppe. They had 3 each. What other club runs like that? That means a ton of money was spent with no clear strategy at all. We signed players that didn't fit any vision. And it was mad. And now, after Sullivan has sacked Tim, held him up as a scapegoat for all the mess that he's created, fans, look, you've got to wake up. We've all got to wake up and realise this disaster is entirely on Sullivan. And he weren't finished there, was he? All the crap in this window as well. Even after Tim's gone, all these phantom bids, he's got us on strings. He loves it. And as I was saying earlier on, there are still 45 points available, but if we don't reinforce, how many are we actually going to get? And there's a risk if we don't finish this season strong. And my biggest concern is losing our best players. So if you focus on Paqueta, Kudus and Alvarez, look at the importance of those three players against Aston Villa. You take Alvarez out of midfield, you take Paqueta away from that forward line, we ain't getting a thing out of that game. Alvarez was like a man possessed in midfield. He ran it. Paqueta created everything. He was involved in everything going forward. These players are so important, and we have to be looking at building our team around these players that we are now lucky to have in the future to try and get ourselves back into the European spots. Now, one season out of Europe like this one, they're going to accept it. It's fine. But 2 seasons, not players like this, they're going to be looking for the exit. I mean, if we showed ambition, like I just said, we've got 45 points. If we went out and did everything that we could in this window and we failed, then, maybe they'll accept it. But they're not going to accept mid-table football playing for a club that don't even look like they want any more than that. Do you know what I mean? They've not got to where they are in the game through not wanting trophies, not wanting to play European football. And if the club shows no ambition now, why are they going to believe in anything they say? Why are they going to believe in a project next season? They're not going to. If you act like a small club, they're going to start looking for a bigger one. And at the moment, in this window, this season and this window, we are acting like a small club. It doesn't matter how much they like Graham Potter. It doesn't matter. And they do like Graham Potter. But these guys are winners. They want to win things. Now, look, the Aston Villa game, a bit of a reality check, all right? I loved everything about that game. We played well. But let's be real. Villa were exhausted. They were. If you go back to the Palace game, we all used the fact that it was our 3rd game in 8 days and our players were knackered, which is why we were completely different against Palace compared to what we was like against Fulham. Well, that was their 3rd game in a week, and their record after midweek European games, it's awful. I think no wins in 5 games after a midweek European game. They struggle. The first 15 minutes, though, they ripped us to pieces, didn't they? They could have been 3-0 up, if not for some last-ditch defending, good goalkeeping, poor finishing. They could have been out of sight in 15 minutes before we actually got going or they dropped off. We'll never know which. But there is a pattern. There's a trend there with Villa after a midweek European game. So I don't believe that we were playing a full-strength, fully fit Aston Villa. All right? I'm not diminishing what we achieved. It was a great game. But if we're using that performance as proof that we don't need signings, I do think that we're being naive at this point. And for me, what we're risking if we don't strengthen, it doesn't bear thinking about. I mean, if you look at our next few fixtures, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brentford, bogey team, if we do go on a bad run, because the run that we're currently on isn't great, the good feeling that we're currently got, it will slowly dissipate. It will. And here's the part people are not really talking about enough. We're only 11 points above the drop zone. I think that we need probably another 9-10 points from 15 games. Well, there's 3 of them there. So if you don't get anything out of that, all of a sudden you need 9 or 10 points from 12. It's not a comfortable gap. And a bad run in the next 4 to 5 games, suddenly we're looking over our shoulders. And what does his initial reign start to look like then? 1 win in 7. Down to 16th or 17th place. Everton above us. Spurs above us. Fans will start to turn. Players are going to be questioning their future. That good feeling will start to go because we're always on the edge in this fan base. It doesn't matter how much patience we say that we've got. We can't speak for everyone, and we know the West Ham fan base is volatile. The board will start panicking as well. And if that happens, don't blame Sullivan because the decision to invest is happening right now. And if you are one of those people that are letting him off the hook, saying that we don't need to invest, you can't complain later. You can't. You can't complain 3 games down the line and start saying, well, he should have spent money. No, you're backing him to not spend money now. And the real problem with letting Sullivan off the hook is, look, people are pushing his preferred narrative, as I said earlier on. What are they saying? There's no point spending now. We're not going to get Europe anyway. We're not at any risk of relegation. You're just letting him off the hook. You're letting him off the hook for scrimping in the summer. Just complete mismanagement, taking too long to sack Lopetegui, delaying the hiring of Potter, the mess with Tim Steiten, and now potentially willingly writing off the rest of this season and not supporting the new manager that we all know that he didn't want. So if you are saying there's no point spending now, don't turn around in a few weeks and start moaning, because you can't. You look like a hypocrite. For me as well, Potter is being set up as a scapegoat. This is really worrying. And it's a dangerous narrative that's creeping in. I saw it today. Some people in the media, they're saying, look, it's Potter's preference not to strengthen. That is utter nonsense. It's mental. This is nothing but a safety blanket for the board. It's a way for them to shift the blame if this season does spiral. And if Potter finishes 16th, 17th or worse, Sullivan can turn around and say, well, we trusted Potter's vision. It was all his idea. You know what I mean? He didn't want new players. We offered them to him, but he didn't want them. It's complete rubbish. And we can't let that excuse become the accepted truth. So we've got to stop that now before it creeps in and becomes fact. Because, look, we might be okay. We might go through the rest of this season and have a strong season anyway. But I love Potter. I think he's going to be a great manager for us. But there is a risk it could go wrong. And what Sullivan is doing is he's just covering his bases. And if the club doesn't strengthen, it's on the board and not the manager. If we don't strengthen in this window, it is on Sullivan. Nobody else. And if it doesn't go so well, what does it mean for Potter's future? Because, look, as we understand it, he's got a 2.5-year contract with KPI targets, I believe. We don't know what they are. But if we finish 16th or 17th, does he even hit those targets in his KPIs? Could that trigger a clause that puts his job at risk? And more importantly, if he doesn't feel backed, does he even stay for the long term? I don't know. I'm not sure. Because no manager, no matter how good, can perform miracles with an unbalanced squad. You can't turn water into wine. You can't. So I think now's the time that we've got to demand ambition. It's not about reckless spending. I'm not saying that. We need a striker. We all know that. It's about having the squad and the depth to compete. We've got to stop acting like a small club, in my opinion, because our players, as I said earlier on, they're not going to accept it. And if we don't invest now, we're going to risk losing our best players, Potter failing before he even gets started, another wasted season with no clear direction, being dragged into a relegation scrap that no one saw coming. None of us want that. So the fact is, if we don't invest now, we can't compete later. We need ambition. We don't need excuses. So sort it out, West Ham. Yeah, so a little bit different that was. I've done a little pre-record before I came live so that I could go through your comments, because I was interested to see what you was going to all say based on that. And there are lots of people linked. I'm seeing. I saw the Duran link to Saudi, but the difference with that one, people are saying it's only 63 million. The difference with that is it's 63 million. We bid 45 plus 12 million in add-ons. Is a massive difference, and it was spread over about 10 years, I think. So. Yeah, completely ridiculous. So what I'm going to do now, a little bit different, is I've got a couple of calls lined up, and I will put the phone number up after to run through a few talking points based on that, rather than just sort of talking to a screen. I want to get your opinions on this as well. So we'll do the first one. Right, 1 minute. Hopefully it works. It does. Oh. Right, let's try. 1 second. It did work, but it didn't pick up. Let's do Kingy. Let's give Kingy a call. Okay, bear with me. Hello, is that Kingy?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very well,
Hello,
mate.
chat.
How are you?
Yeah, mate, not bad. It's last time we spoke for the Fulham game.
Yeah.
We just got the win. We got excited, as we should have been. You should always be excited for 3 points. Obviously, then we go to Palace, and we didn't turn up at all. And I mean, going into the Villa game, I wasn't optimistic, but we put in a performance.
Yeah.
But I think with this season, this is a thing with West Ham. We're getting dangled a carrot every now and again, where it's like, oh, could we turn around? And then obviously having that performance in a transfer window where we can actually them, see where our positions where we need to strengthen, and we don't do it. It's as again, I said it in the chat a minute ago. I called this as a dead sea year, mate. I knew that it was going to be lots of carrots and gold, and and I just can't. I just think we're just going to have to ride this one out, mate. Because there's no club in the world that can have a striker put a car around a fucking tree. One striker from Germany for 5 million or whatever, who then is injury prone, and then we don't look to strengthen a striker position. Now that's someone who's really just trying to get the Premier League season in my eyes.
I know, I get that, mate. But do you feel like we need to sign players before this deadline? Where do you sit on it?
Well, as I just said, we've got Antonio out injured for another year or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Fulkrug has played 5 minutes of football.
Yeah.
And we haven't got a recognised striker.
Well, Danny Ings.
We have been looking
at
we've
got Danny Ings.
Yeah. I said recognised. But fucking hell, I'd get a game over him at the moment. But look, Danny Ings, all he's been, I would never out him because he got brought into the situation. It's not his fault. And if he ever gets on the pitch, I'm always going to. It's always hard being a striker that no one really wants, right?
Yeah.
And for his age and everything like that, he shouldn't be expected to be the main man.
No,
that's not how it should be. So, looking at the strikers that we've been going for, this Brobery, I don't know too much about him. I've heard that he's played with Alvarez.
I didn't until we was linked with him.
No, exactly. So, but the fact that they've got that little link there with Alvarez and surely them two would have been in the ear and saying, this is the guy that we need. And if that is the guy that we need, that's already bringing onus to the team by bringing someone who's already played with two of the boys already.
100%.
So I would have said go all out for him.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about the geezer from Villa anymore because it's done. It's dead. It's a shame.
Do you think it's just a striker that we need to or is it, or would you make do if we went and got a really decent striker in now? Do you think that would be enough, or do you feel like we need to cover other areas as well?
So as I said, at the moment, because I said I don't think that we. I don't in any relegation battle. I don't think we'll go down. I said this about when we first went to London Stadium. We had a real high season at Upton Park in the last one.
Yeah.
Then we go into London Stadium, we put that shit, Norvite and fucking Torrent or whatever his name was. That crap. So it's sort of like, we'll give him one good year and we'll give him a shit one.
Yeah.
Turning out to be a bit better than that first year. But it's got that same sort of imagery, do you know what I mean? Where, like, again, carrot dangle. We've given them a good season. Let's show them what we've got with all these signings. We brought in all the signings in the summer. Tadibo, Fulkrug, Wan-Bissaka. Like, we bought some good players. It's a lot better than that window. Granted, we didn't have. We did.
On thing is, Ryan, on paper it was a good window, but the whole idea of this this rebuild was supposed to be via Tim. There was supposed to be a single vision, a clear vision. It weren't like that at all. I mean, look. Tim had to go in the end because he was fucking pointless. He was useless because he weren't allowed to do his job. And what about the other one as well, where like a lot of fans say January's a bad market? Is that an excuse? Like,
I think we love an excuse. I think that Sullivan loves an excuse, shall I say?
Yeah.
So I think he loves the January transfer window excuse. We don't. We know what we need.
Yeah.
And so does he. He just doesn't want to go out and get it. He doesn't want to stand in his pocket and get that striker that we need. We've needed one for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? We know we're getting these. We've got Haller, Scamacca. Fulkrug was never our striker. Should never have happened. Yeah. And we should have spent that extra money on Duran, as it's shown. But in this window, all we kind of need right now is a striker. I would take just a striker because you've got... let's just bring in the academy. The ones what we've got left this year, we'll see it out. As I said, we're not relegated. Give them boys experience. Let them play. So let Kalen Casey play. Put Lewis Orford in the middle. Take Souček out for a little bit. I know he's been a great leader.
Yeah.
He's not a football player. I'm not having it. Like, and I love him, but he's not a football player. He's great in both. He's great in both boxes.
I've chilled on the Souček front
Yeah.
because I firmly believe that he will be out when the time is right. When we've got somebody else to come in, I do. I think he'll probably, especially when you look at the way Alvarez played the other day, he was like a fucking man possessed, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was back to his best.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Lewis Orford, I think him in somewhere along them lines with Alvarez as well and Paqueta. I don't think we need to strengthen anywhere else. I'd rather us not spend our money in this window. I'd rather us wait till the summer, see what Potts he's going to do when he gets back. I know I'm emphasising a lot on the academy, but they're as good as what everyone's saying they are going to be. Give them a chance in this season, because this is a season where, as I said, it's done. We're not. If he doesn't get a striker, he's not pushing on to try and get up that table. All he's trying to do is stagnate, get out of relegation battle, and like look for the summer. And if you're right with the Potter thing, where you're saying that he's a scapegoat, it's probably this could be the final nail in his coffin, because the fan base majority are getting behind him.
Yeah.
And that's bad for Sullivan, because if we can see change in West Ham's play, which we have done so far in a couple of games that I've watched, then if he doesn't get back, Sullivan, it's all back on you, mate. It's all back on you.
Oh, I completely agree, mate. I completely agree. Right, Kingy, thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Before you go,
no
worries. Chelsea, we're going to win?
Yeah.
We're going to win? We're going to beat them?
No, I've got a feeling I'd like to say 2-1. 2-1 win to West Ham, yeah. And I think... I think Danny Ings winger. There you go.
I mean, look. See, the thing is, I'm quite confident in Potter, and I think that he can polish a turd because he's shown that he can so far. My worry is that we did read too much into the Aston Villa game, and when we do come up against teams that are fully firing, there's only so much that he can do. Like I said earlier on, he can't turn water into wine. And when you look at it, we've lost to Palace, we've lost to Villa. We won against Fulham, scoring the 3 goals that we created in the game, winning 3-2, and we've drawn against Villa. If you lose against Chelsea, lose against Arsenal, then things are going to start to look not so good. And people that are being patient now, even though we know it ain't. Once that frustration creeps in, everybody associated with West Ham that frustrated, it will get directed at Potter as well. It will, and it ain't fair, but it will happen.
Definitely. I mean, like, look, don't get me wrong. The Aston Villa game, it was more exciting to watch in the second half. First half was shit to watch. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the second half was much better. What I liked about what the players did, they showed character. They actually stood up and got counted, which is what I liked. But the first half, we looked like a puzzle missing pieces. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, with you, for example, would you take a striker, or do you need strength in other areas as well?
Oh no! For me, if I would put all my eggs in the striker basket now, rather than, because we haven't got a bottomless pit of cash. If we could get a really good player on loan with an option to buy in the summer that Potter wanted, so if we could get the midfielder that Potter wants in the summer now, you go and do it, and I would go and do it now. But for me, I would focus on getting that man in up front, because I think that makes all the difference. If you look at the way that Paqueta's playing now, I'm sorry, mate, you drop that Paqueta into midfield, and midfield sorted with Alvarez.
Yeah,
this version of Paqueta. Do you know what I mean?
He's our bastard. And he's doing well again. Love it.
Absolutely.
And he'll carry on because he's got character. Anyway, have a good one, mate. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Lovely
See you
stuff.
later, everyone in the chat, and up the others.
Cheers, Kingy. Thanks, mate. Right, next one. Let's see if I can get through to Jordan again.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks, you.
Good stuff. You got me off Do Not Disturb now, have you?
Yeah, that's it,
yeah. Did you watch the opening, the preamble to this?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You did.
Yeah, right. I did.
You did. Well, we're getting to a few other bits after on, but a little bit after. But for me, talking about the scapegoating of Potter, who do you think should take responsibility for this, because we're already seeing some people now saying that Potter doesn't want new signings. Where they're getting this from, I don't fucking know, because there's no quotes from Potter. So this is a narrative, because it's coming out through certain people. It's a narrative that's being spun already early on, where they're saying Potter doesn't want new signings. I mean, do you believe that for a start?
Absolutely not. I firmly believe that it's the poison dwarf like pushing this narrative, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's not his choice. It's Brady's choice, which to me is a bit weird, because you see Brady as an ally of Sullivan,
Yeah.
but now it's almost like she's chosen him, and the onus is on her. So I think what Sullivan's doing now is he will use Potter, he will use Brady as now a scapegoat, potentially, to deflect, because he's that desperate of a man. He can't take criticism, so he's going to use Brady and Potter to take the flak,
And
and
he's
because
now
he likes to divide the fan base.
He's replaced Tim with Carl McCauley, so he'll be the next one that gets thrown under the bus for a failed signing, as well.
Yeah,
So
and I'm surprised Maximilian Arns. We're hearing more about him, and I'm surprised. He's not taking a bit of flack at the minute.
he's been kept around for that reason as
he's
well.
supposed to be the person.
It
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because especially if you're Sullivan, you're sitting there, you're looking at the fan reaction to Potter, as Kingy just said. That's not great for Sullivan. It's not. He loves to have a divided fan base. It's really useful to him. It's perfect, because it deflects away from all the shit that he does. But do you? I mean, look, obviously, I think it's absolute nonsense. It's bollocks, because especially if Potter's got KPIs written into his contract, he needs to do as well as he can do this year. And if he could go out and get a striker now, he absolutely fucking would. He would do. Now, if the club don't invest and the results do take a dip, do you think that the fans, on the whole, do you think there'll be a section of the fans that will start turning on Potter unfairly? So let me give you an example. We lose the next three. That's one. We lose the next three. That's 1 win in 7. Everton and Spurs go above us. Do you think at that point, even that early on, that the worm could start to turn with some sections of the fan base?
I hope not, because we've seen this before. Do you remember when I think it was 2021, first season in the Europa League? We got to January and we was heading towards the semi-final, and we needed to strengthen. We needed to buy somebody in the January transfer window.
Yeah,
we didn't. And the squad, we obviously got knocked out in the semis against Frankfurt. And we I reckon if we strengthened that, we potentially would have won it. That was then, it's exactly the same. It's like a mirror image of what happened about 2-3 years ago, where he just doesn't, and he just lets the manager just get cracking with what he has.
Yeah.
And he pushes all these, and it's either, for me, it's either like he needs that fucking sort ass geezer up. He needs him to get signings in, or that Barry Silkman. Otherwise, it's like we don't get what we want, because obviously he just wants to sort out his mates at the end of the day. It's so much nepotism within.
That's all it is, mate. That's all it is. It's repaying old favours and stuff like that. And we're locked into it. We're locked into it. I mean, if you look at the first thing that he does, so if you look at, you've got Will Salthouse and I don't think Salthouse and Silkman are connected, because Silkman he kind of works for that Penny Zahavi bloke. That's who he works for. And then you've got Mendes, and you've got all these other people, and they're all agents, and they've all got their own players. And what he'll do is, for instance, because I talk to the guys at SportsX, and I'm going to do a show on the players that they've basically that they've proposed to West Ham to fill all the gaps that we've got, and it was all very, very fucking achievable as well, and all the players were available. And what Sullivan will do is he'll take these players. So SportsX, for instance, they'll go away. They'll get they'll get everything agreed with the player. They get everything done to the point where it gets presented to Sullivan. Sullivan's got to make a decision. The first thing that Sullivan does, bearing in mind that they like to operate covertly, and they say do not alert, because all the players that they're proposing are in-demand players. If you alert the media, other clubs will jump in. They'll jump in. So you've got to kind of strike while the iron's hot and keep it quiet. The first thing that Sullivan does is he'll run a player past Barry Silkman, Will Salthouse, straight away, because they've got clients that they're trying to push in. They'll go, nah, that's not the right player. And then the next thing they'll do is they'll leak it to the press. so that it does it's but the thing is, Sullivan ain't stupid. He knows this. And there's part of me that thinks, I said the other day, these are not his friends, you know, they're kind of, I don't think he wants to deal with anyone else other than them. I honestly don't. I don't think he's got an interest in the world in getting the very best player in. It is all about who represents them. And I think it's a bit of a problem when somebody offers him a player on a plate that he finds it hard to turn down. I do. I think him and his mates just try and fuck it up. And he keeps on squeezing it and turning the screw. Look how much we've paid for absolute shit. And the other thing as well, you know, like this Evan Ferguson deal, that everyone reporting that Evan Ferguson is Potter's. He wants him. He wants this player in. I don't believe that for a second, for a start. Well, I know it isn't true. I'm not saying that we ain't going to sign him, but that isn't true. And if it was true, he'd be. I would be a little bit concerned, because it's massive for Potter. For Potter's first signing to be a striker with a more than suspect injury record for a massive fee, you'd be looking at about 40 million to West Ham. That is a massive risk for Potter to take to his reputation at West Ham for the first thing that he does. And I don't think that Potter's a type of man that buys or that wants Evan Ferguson from Brighton. He wants to get Evan Ferguson in for Brighton. You know, like before, you buy him you get him initially. You get that type of player for 5 million, 10 million, and you turn him into a 30, 40 million pound player. That's kind of what he's all about. You don't go and buy him at this stage. I mean, I wouldn't have an issue buying him for 40, 50 million if he didn't have all these injury concerns. But fuck me, we've got you look at Antonio, you look at Fulkrug. You can't go and add him into the mix, really. If you got him on a loan with no obligation, I could understand it, but it's too much of a risk for me, mate. That is.
Yeah, I don't think Potter's that stupid, if I'm honest with you.
No.
Like he ain't that stupid, and that's why I think he's eyeing up Brian Brobby, sorry. Because like, obviously he's 22 years old, hardly any injuries. He's not prolific this season, but like last season he was well prolific.
Yep.
So that's, he has an eye for goal, and he's just a bit out of form. He's looking to bring in this young player, hardly any injuries, 22 years old, and he wants to turn him into a gem. And he's less of a risk for him than getting Evan Ferguson. Even though Evan Ferguson is, I know you can probably imagine the narrative that Sullivan's probably thinking in his head. Oh yeah, he's Premier League proven in it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like Alvarez weren't Premier League proven, Kudus weren't Premier League proven, Paqueta weren't Premier League proven.
I know.
It don't really matter. Like, just get them in. Like, look at their injury record. Look at their age, and see their potential, rather than, nepotism, like a nepotistic like signing of like your agents that you just want to like do backhand deals. It's so annoying, and it just frustrates me. Now, like for me, I would have chosen and tried to have done some smart business in this window. I would have liked to have maybe got some players off the books that we, weren't particularly being happy with, like the likes of Guido Rodriguez. I would have looked to have, returned him. I'd have liked to have maybe seen what the clause was to get Potts back, or even a Gerds, and then look at probably potentially getting rid of Kufar, because obviously Kufar can't hack it anymore.
No.
It would have been probably a good option to bring, well, we have done, Scholes and Casey in.
Yeah.
Let go Kufar. Then with the money to recoup from that, obviously then put towards a striker.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing, mate, I'll move on to the next point with you just quickly. Based on what I was saying, the risk of losing our best players, if, say, for instance, because look, we know that the players buying into Potter, they like Potter. The manager is no longer a problem. He's not. He's a polar opposite of a problem. He's fixing a lot. But your top players, your Paqueta, your Caduces, and your Alvarez's, it doesn't matter whether they like the manager or not. Ultimately, their ambition will drive them to want to play in the elite competitions, to win trophies and stuff like that. That I said earlier on, they'll accept one season out of that. But a second, when the club that they're playing for show no ambition whatsoever, well, like when I said earlier on, there's still 45 points to play for. So at that point there, do you think, say for instance, worst case scenario, we don't buy anyone in January, so we don't give Potter the tools that he needs, and we have a bit of a shitty last 15 games, and we finish around about where we are now, between 14th and 17th. Do you think that Paqueta, Kudus, and Alvarez are going to accept that? For their
Well,
own careers?
the only player that I don't, the only player I don't think will be forced to will be Paqueta, depending on the outcome of his case.
Yeah.
What'll happen is if worst comes to worst, what'll happen is if like what you say, if we have a poor like run of games at the end of the season, we struggle at around like bottom table, 15th, 16th. Your players and your assets are devaluing, and there'll be a mass exodus. So the players want European football. They'll go cheaper, so we'll make a loss on a lot of the players because obviously we've had a bad like run of games, and they will devalue naturally, and then we won't just and then we will have to lower our sights next season, and it's annoying me. And going back to, I think you mentioned it earlier or the other day, every Premier League spot is worth £3 million.
Yeah, I know.
So you need to invest now in order to gain that revenue back for then you to reinvest in the summer.
But what
and potentially keep your best players.
But what really bothers me about this, that the whole idea of this, is the fact that we've had the wrong manager for a few years, but we've collected some great players off the back of the seasons in Europe. Now we've got the manager. My worry is that you have to, because like I said to you, Alvarez and Paqueta absolutely made the difference against Villa. They did. Wan-Bissaka had a great game as well. That they did, but those two in particular really did sort of set the tone. They're top class players, and the worry for me is that if you sell these players of that level, you've kind of got to start all over again, and you have, because in the Premier League you do need these. You do need these players if you want to be a little bit different. So if you want to be better than your Fulhams. It doesn't matter how good your coach is, because each of these have got great coaches. Fulham, Brighton. What will elevate us above these teams is the world-class players with the great coach as well. And my worry is that you're almost starting again. So why do that?
Yeah.
Why not just kind of try and build on a bit of momentum? The happiness is with the fans at the moment. Why ain't Sullivan looking at this thinking, fucking hell, this is good, this is positive. Let's back him and try and see where we can go this season. Why wouldn't you do that? But I'm worried that in the summer, if it doesn't go well, in the summer, Potter's going to have to deal with fucking players leaving as opposed to, rebuilding and building on top of what we've got. That's my real concern.
Yeah, we will struggle to keep the players. I think if we don't get European football, which is a very, very slim chance now, it makes your eyes water. Could you imagine, Nick, if like Moyes left after conference win and we got in someone like Potter?
Oh, mate, that's where it should have been. Well, it should have been Silva, shouldn't it? So Silva's a good coach as well. So what should have happened? Because he was all coach, he was all lined up. So we would have been 18 months into a Silva project now with all of those players and could possibly still be in fucking Europe, mate. This is the thing. So many missed opportunities with this club. It's ridiculous. And when I said we're at a crossroads, we're always at a crossroads with Sullivan. And the trouble is that fucker always takes a wrong turning. He does. He does. We've been so close to pushing on so many times. So many times. It's so frustrating.
Do you think though now, because obviously Brady has appointed Potter, do you think now she will want him to succeed? So she will push for Sullivan to make signings.
I think there's going to be a political game going on now. I think it will burn Sullivan. There's no doubt about it. Brady is jockeying for position at that club. And the fact that Brady has managed to squeeze Potter in against the will of Sullivan is going to piss Sullivan off. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
So she's definitely jockeying for position in a big bald environment. I personally think that it could be even worse for Potter. It's either going to be good for him or really fucking bad for him, because maybe a personal vendetta between those two could be bad. Do you know what I mean? Because Sullivan might be in a situation where he's thinking, do you know what? I know it sounds mad because he owns the club and surely it's beneficial for him to do well. But I just think the guy's such an egomaniac. I think he's probably burned. Can you imagine how humiliated he must feel with the Lopetegui drama?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then, like, out of this, because obviously we ain't got no Tim anymore because he walked. Do you think either we get a new director of football, someone like you, Dan Ashworth, or do you think that Noble should try and like promote Noble to a technical director role?
I don't think Noble will go anywhere near it with a barge pole because he'll be the first one thrown on. He knows how it works, and I think that's probably why he hasn't accepted a higher role already, because he knows that if you take any role that's senior, you'll be held up as a sacrificial lamb at some point. That's what'll happen. You'll be thrown under the bus. And I think what they've done is, with this narrative that's being peddled about Potter not wanting to invest, what's given them the ammunition to do that is because Potter's come in these press conferences and he's been really complimentary because he's trying to rebuild the morale of his current team. And whenever he gets quizzed about bringing new players in, he says, look, I've got a really good squad now. I think they're using that. And that's going to come back and that's going to bite him in the arse. I just think at board level, we are fucking rotten. We're absolutely rotten. We are.
Oh, it's taking advantage. You're right. You're completely right, Nick. Because like Potter's, he's got a degree in psychology, so he did mention in his. If you listen to his high performance interview, it's all about building confidence within a player and having that emotional intelligence to like treat people differently in order to get the most out of them. And that when you hear him say, like, I think his first press conference was, we've got great foundations here. We just need to build on them. You know, that he's trying to. I know what you're saying. He's trying to give them confidence in order to, be the best versions of themselves. Yeah. But that doesn't mean don't invest. That means we've got to add on to that, obviously, to increase the productivity of this team. Otherwise, like you say, they're going to devalue by the summer. We're going to have a mass exodus, and it's going to set us back probably about 2 years. 2 years probably worth of squad, development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said to you, I don't want this to come across as doom and gloom, because for me, I'm really positive, more positive than I've been for a long time. But it's making me desperate as well, because what I don't want is for any of these concerns that I've got in the back of my head with Sullivan to come to fruition. And I just feel like we've almost got all the components now. We've got the core and the base of a fantastic team. We're just missing a few key ingredients. We've got a great manager. Everyone's happy there now. Why are they not fucking capitalising on it? Because my concern is, with the way that we play football now, high intensity games, like I said earlier on, you're going to get injuries. You are. So we get a couple more injuries to key players. We go on, we have a real struggle in the last 10, 15 games. Then even the most hardened fan are going to start having their doubts, because you do. It's what happens, unfortunately. If you watch 10 to 15 games of shit, and this is the other thing, it will probably work, mate. So the way that they spin these stories, people will be so frustrated. They're always looking for someone to blame. And when these stories and these narratives get peddled via the usual sources, that it was Potter, it was Potter, it was Potter, it was Potter, he didn't want anyone, people will end up just buying into it. I think they will, because it's always worked. It's always worked. We always need someone to hang. We know that we can't fucking sack Sullivan because he owns a club. He's the one that ultimately's got to go. But I just worry that it doesn't go well and we end up missing out on what could be with Potter, because I do think he's the right man, mate. I do.
Well, I think the fans have got to ignore it. Like, I know it would be hard, but like, the fans have got to ignore the fact that Sullivan's probably going to push this narrative, if we don't sign anyone, that it was Potter's idea, to deflect obviously off himself. But we just got to stick with him because he is a good manager, and do you know what as well? He's a likable person. I think that's going to work well with the fans. He's going to promote the kind of. He's going to try and break down that barrier between the fans and the players and the squad, like Bilic did in like 15-16 season. So
I think he's that intelligent that he also knows and understands the West Ham fan base already. Now, no doubt, look, he does promote youth, but there was more than meets the eye to the way that he threw Ollie Scholes in there straight away. That was an instant win, bang, instant win, and he does get it. I think he does get us. So I think he will always do enough. He'll always be able to, even when things aren't going well, I think he'll be able to give us something. Whereas under Moyes and Lopetegui, when it was bad, it was just fucking utter misery. Whereas at least, like you said earlier on, with Potter, we're going to see, hopefully, the youth players coming through. And that does go a long way with West Ham fans. It does.
Yeah, of course, and that's why I was on about, you know, potentially is there any harm calling back Callum Marshall, you know, from Huddersfield? I don't know what kind of seasons he's having, but he's a striker, you know.
Well,
He plays for Northern Ireland. He's, you know, international player.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt we've got players in the academy that he'll probably be looking at anyway, because he does take an active interest. So each of those players now that are in that academy, if they are good enough, I've got no doubt he'll be giving them a chance. If he thinks they're good enough, they'll have a crack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I am hopeful though. Like I know what you mean. I feel the same. Like I am hopeful, but at the same time, I'm very almost. I want him to I'm desperate for him to succeed. I want him to succeed. I want it to be a successful, you know, second half of the season for him, in order so he can build, like, he can have the positivity to build on like next season.
Yeah.
And for him to have that, the board need to invest. They need to back him.
They do.
They need to back him.
They do. And people and I think that fans, especially West Ham fans, especially when you consider everything that Sullivan's done in the history and what he's done just in recent history, in the summer, the way he's acted, you know, bringing in the stupid transfer policy, what he's done with Tim, bringing in Lopetegui, and then this. You can't go letting him off the hook like this, saying, "Oh no, don't worry, I can understand it. You know, we don't need to sign anything now." That's exactly what he wants. You're literally singing his gospel there. You can't be doing it. You can't. I can't tolerate it. I can't.
No.
That fucker needs to spend. He's got to right some of the wrongs. It ain't down to him that Potter's here. That's down to fucking Brady and whoever else. He's got to try and right some of those wrongs. We know he won't. He's not going to. He's going to be an arsehole. But anyway, Jordan, I'm going to let you get back to bed, mate, because I know you're tired.
No, that's fine, mate. Anyway, cheers for having me on, mate, and hope you have a good rest of the week, all right?
Yeah, cheers, mate. Andrew, speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye, mate.
So, mate. Right. Next one. Hang on. Hello, Alec.
Hello, yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. You in the car?
Yeah, driving. I'm all right to talk, though. I've got the hands-free thing on, so I'm all right to talk.
As long as you're safe, mate. As long as you're safe. That's all that matters.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I missed the start of the show because I was playing football myself, but I've listened to the past couple of calls. I agree with everything they've said, to be honest. I mean, it was a mirror, a repeat of, like that guy said a couple of seasons ago, when we finished 7th, and we needed that striker in January, and they didn't spend. And I do worry that we're going to get to 11 o'clock tonight, and there'll be nothing, and we've missed an opportunity to get someone. I mean, get someone in now, give them the rest of the season to get bedded in, and away you go.
Well, that window don't close until the 3rd of Feb.
All right. I thought it was tonight. Or was that the loan window? Isn't it? I thought it was end of January.
It closes on match day, so you know we're playing Chelsea on Monday. It closes on that. It closes.
Yeah.
So
But I worry we're not going to get anyone. That's my main concern. I mean, we keep seeing all these links. Oh, it's nearly done, and then it just the news vanishes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Evan Ferguson one is a great player, but if we're going to sign someone now, it kind of needs to be someone that can hit the ground running and not take a matter of weeks or whatever to get fit and up to speed. I'd rather sign someone that can come in now and either, like you said, a loan with an obligation to buy, or someone that's going to be on a permanent transfer that's fit and ready to go, like that.
I just think with Ferguson, when you consider what's just happened with. Especially because of what's just happened with Fulkrug, who had an awful injury record.
Yeah.
I don't think you can risk it. And you are right. Ferguson is a fantastic talent. He is. But, mate. Honestly. But one of the points I was making anyway, in the show earlier on, was are we in a false position? Because, I mean, it's not great anyway. We're 14th. But what I'm trying to say is fans seem very relaxed, like ridiculously relaxed. Now, we're only 11 points above the relegation zone. We've got... We've got to play all the teams below us, and we've got coming up. We've got Chelsea, Brentford, and Arsenal. Do you think that it's impossible for us to go down? Do you feel like
I don't know.
This is the thing. Are we too relaxed?
I don't know. Like, I'm not. It sounds. I'm not worried about getting relegated, but when you look at the table, it's not quite done and dusted, is it? I mean, if you get,
No.
I mean, you look at teams like Everton and Spurs. If they get a couple of wins put together and we go the other way, it can do a 180 and we can go below them. And then you don't. I mean, the thing is, if we don't sign a striker and we get another injury or two, we are screwed, aren't we, in terms of getting in attacking players?
Oh, massively. Massively,
and I think if we need to get a couple of results and we get a few injuries, where are the goals going to come from? And I don't with Mavropanos or Mavropanic and Kilman. Our defence is a little bit shaky, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a bit of a dangerous combination to have like no fit striker apart from Danny Ings and a shaky defence, and you're going into sort of the business end of the season. It's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? So it's not impossible. I'm not panicking about relegation, but I think it's on a knife edge. If we have one or two things that go against us, then we could find ourselves in the brown stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's my main concern. I'm not too stressed about it now, but if we get to March and Ings gets injured or Bowen can't recover properly or Somerville can't recover properly, we're going to look back at this window and go, do you know, why didn't we sign anyone? And I think that's my main concern. I think right now, like it's not so much to relegate.
We've been here before, haven't we? We've been here before with a window where we desperately needed to sign someone.
100%, yeah. And I remember that season. Then we got to the end of the season. I know it was Moyes was in charge as well, but we got to the end of the season then, and we lost to Brighton, wasn't it? I think it was 2-0, wasn't it, or 3-0? I think it was. And I remember watching and we got to the end of that season, and I thought then, why didn't we sign a striker to take some of the hate of Antonio? We could have gone from 7th to 6th or 5th, and we didn't. And it's just like, it was almost like Sullivan, he likes a bit of success, but not too much that means that he's got to spend out a bit. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't like to gamble. He's a businessman. No. He likes to make just enough of a decision to get a bit of progress, and then he slams the brakes on. And I think that's what he's doing now. I don't think he's going to back Potter. I don't think we're going to sign anyone. And I think he'll throw Potter under the bus and he'll make out that, we didn't want anyone. We offered him signings left, right and centre, and he said no. It might work with boys. It might have worked with Lopetegui, but not with Potter.
I'll just add this confirmed as well. So after our failed bid that we made the other day, this is why Villa was so angry. Because to the player, Duran, all he sees is somebody's bid 57 million for me, and the club have said no. He don't know the details of it. Apparently, he threw his toys out the pram. He weren't very happy. I think we all saw him when he came on against us. There weren't really anything there, was there? It looks like he was basically at the stage where he's going to be down in tools, and we've had Villa fans saying he ain't going anywhere. He's on a long contract. He was always going to go. The deal was set up for West Ham to sign, and he's just reached an agreement with Saudi now for a couple of million more than what we apparently bid.
Idiot, yeah.
He's reached an agreement with him. We could have got him, mate. It's just fucking
and that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, it's that one player we could get in now, like a striker, and I mean, you think not only will it boost the fans, it'll boost the players as well, because they'll go, do you know what? It shows, they're going out every week since Potter joined as well, every week, and they're running their socks off, they're busting the gut, and they're putting real battling performances in. And it feels like the club or at board level isn't matching the players' endeavour on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? And if they could go, we just sign a striker for X amount of money or whatever, do you know what? The board, they're in the right direction. It will lift them as well. But to get to the end of the window and not sign anyone is suicide. I mean, if we'd got John Duran in, I mean, I saw him against us. He looked completely disinterested. And the fact, I suppose the fact that he's gone Saudi, I don't know if that speaks much about his whether it's just after money or what, I don't know.
He didn't want that, but I think it's just got to a stage where he's gone, do you know what, fuck it, I've got to get out of here.
I think so. Yeah, they signed. What was that bloke's name they signed from the? Was it? He came in against us, the striker. What was this guy's name? They signed. Was it from a German team?
Marlon.
There was some Marlon. German. Yeah, they signed him.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, when they signed him, I thought, here we go. That means they're obviously getting ready for him to leave.
Yeah.
So I thought then, that'll be us. That, it's all done and dusted. They've brought a centre forward in. They're expecting him to go, and then obviously not. But I mean, I just before I left to go and play football, I saw that Fabrizio Romano said that Arsenal had put a bid in. Was it £60 million for Ollie Watkins?
Yeah.
And Villa have said no, and they said we want 100 million. So, do you know what I mean?
Well, there's an issue with Brian Brobby now because I'll speak to the intermediary on that one. So that offer is on the table still. From basically, well, no, they rejected our offer, but what they've done is they've given us what they will accept. They've said we will accept this, which is basically the an obligation to buy. So it's a delayed payment, and there's nothing wrong with the fee. The fee's absolutely fair. But Sullivan didn't want to commit to it. The issue that we've got now, I don't know who it is, but the information that I've got is whoever else Ajax have got up front, Leicester are very close to signing and getting it done. Apparently, if that gets done before Brobby's going nowhere until the end of the season.
Yeah.
So again,
that's another one. If it's on the edge of being signed, of being completed, let's get it done, because if they sell another striker, they won't want to let someone else go, will they? So it's it is. I mean, I do. I mean, it all goes back to Sullivan, doesn't it? I think I know some people will eventually probably blame Potter and maybe want him out, but it all goes back to Sullivan. I mean, he's got previous with this, where he lacks ambition. He'll do just enough to sort of succeed as a club and make a bit of profit, and then slam the brakes on. I mean, to me, like with him using these same bloody agents, he's one of these people that goes to the same car dealership every time they want a new car, and the bloke that sells the car knows, here he comes the same, and they can sell him an old banger and he'll fucking buy it.
But the thing is, as I've found out in this window, he's the complete opposite of that. So he's almost impossible to sell to. He is. These guys they're literally getting everything done at a cut price deal, because do you know something? When you're actually working with people that don't work on a percentage commission, you actually get value for money. Do you know? Yeah. Do you know that there are some agents that work with West Ham that we use that they get their commission is based on a percentage of the deal? So how are you ever going to get value for money? You're not. If it's a percentage of a deal, they're not going to get a deal done for 10 million, are they? If they can get it done for 20, 20 is even better. So this is the thing.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's fucking mad, mate. It's mad.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I know some people are saying about don't sign a player now, but I think we should, if we get a deal over the line, get it done. Try and fucking cut Sullivan out of it if we can, and just get the right fucking player in. I mean, I'm happy. I mean, if at the same time, like, if Potter comes out and says in an interview, do you know what? I'm not interested now. I want to promote youth. I'd be happy with that at the same time. I like Potter. I was a bit sceptical first when we got him in, but I've warmed to him massively.
We would be happy, right? But then what you would end up with is a massive split, because, and you would, because there would be a split in the family. I'm backing Potter, so I'm not going to blame any of this on him. Yeah. I'm not, and I am going to completely and utterly, even if we lose every game now to the end of the season, if we don't invest, I'm going to be on his side and targeting Sullivan. But you know something? I'm going to be fighting against a lot of people. A lot of people, as the games go on, after 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, a lot of social media channels will be ramping it up, and they'll be peddling the narrative from Sullivan, where it ain't my fault, it's his. Yeah. So many people will buy it, mate. They will buy it. They will.
Yeah, that's the thing. Look, we've had Lopetegui was shit. I sympathised with him to a point. And then Moyes was shit. Yeah. And I think Moyes was a good fire blanket for Sullivan. Moyes took a lot. He was a real stubborn, narcissistic piece of shit. And I think he took a lot of flack from Sullivan, which Sullivan loved.
Yeah.
And then, Lopetegui came in, and I think it was the wrong man for the job from the off. I think I sort of turned on Lopetegui, I think by September, October, and you could see then that it was just the right numbers on the wall, and it weren't going to fucking work. Never in a million years was it going to work.
No.
And I think Sullivan liked it, and of course, and then we have Tim Steidten, and I mean, I liked him at the start of it, but then as he went on, you kind of go, do you know what? I don't think he's the right man for the fucking job either. And it's just the whole thing. is rotten from the top down. So I'm like you. I can't blame Potter for any of this. He's coming to try and it's a massive rebuild that he's got on his hands. He needs the tools to do it. He's got every single wrong that he's got to try and make right. And you've got to give him the tools to do it. It's not going to be a turnaround job this season. I mean, whatever we get out this season is a plus in my eyes. I hope we don't go. I don't think we will, but like I said, it is on a knife edge. But I think anything we can get out this season now is a plus. But he's got to be given the time and the tools to do it. You know, he's got an absolute shitstorm of a mess to rectify. He's a decent manager. Mate. He done once at Brighton on a half decent budget. You know, he brought players in that are unheard of that got sold for 60, 70, 80, 90 million pounds. I mean, you don't get a manager doing that if they're a dud. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So he needs backing, but give him time and give him money to do it. I think so. Hopefully, our fans won't be overly fickle and they won't turn on him after sort of 4 or 5 games without a win. You know, he needs to. If you're going to get angry, direct it at Sullivan. That's the person that needs to take the heat.
Absolutely,
you know? So and that's it basically. So right, well, I'm going to get indoors, Nick. I'm sat in the car freezing my arse off in my football kit.
No worries, mate. Cheers for the call. Anyway, it's good talking to you as always.
Cheers. Cheers, Nick. Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right. Okay. So, what we got now? So we got 659. So should we talk about the mystery player? I'm gonna reveal the mystery player. You know why I'm going to reveal him now, and it ain't because we're signing him. Before I do, if you can do me a favour, drop a like on the video if that's okay. There's loads of you watching, only got 200 likes, so that isn't the love heart. You come out of the live chat and you press the thumbs up on the video as if it was a pre-record. The player that we were very, very close to signing until late last night was Endrick of Real Madrid, the 18-year-old Brazilian sensation that Real Madrid bought for 50 million. Used to play with Guilherme at Palmeiras as well, but obviously a complete superstar. He's not getting as much game time as Real Madrid as he wants, so him and his dad were looking for other loan deals. Not for him to go out and move. We would have just been a like what Potts are to Portsmouth, but to a world-class talent. Imagine being out to get Messi when he was younger for a couple of years, because it was 6 months with a year's extension. It could have been 18 months. This is a player that's built a little bit like Kudus. He's look, it could be reinvigorated again, but I've been told now that it's unlikely to happen, and I can reveal the name, and I'll let you know why it failed. So we got basically the dad agreed to it. He was very important. Real Madrid were happy for the player to come. There was an issue with the guy with the guys who own his image rights. So apparently the same people that own his image rights, they work with Paqueta as well. They weren't too keen with him coming to West Ham because they saw a risk off the back of how we've treated Guilherme. So this was almost done off the back of how West Ham have treated Guilherme. Bearing in mind they've got different levels of player, but we've brought this player in was also 18. And they don't think there's a risk that it was ever going to get. There was a risk that he might not play, and that wouldn't be good for his name. And also, I think when you see the news has probably broke today or yesterday about Guilherme being shipped out to fucking Ukraine for 15 million, it's nonsense. But when you see stories like that peddled endlessly, that would have been it. So the plan was Endrick, not as our primary striker, but for him to come in with one other who would have been our primary striker. So it would have been Endrick and Brian Brobby. I mean, that would have been nice. That was a player anyway. And I know I'm going to get loads of people saying this bollocks, but I'll show you the video tomorrow if you like. The one that I recorded ages ago. And that was the reason. It very, very close. I didn't think it would ever get that far, to be honest. I thought it would collapse. When I was told, I said bollocks. The same as everyone else is laughing in there. That's exactly what I did. I said bollocks. I said, there's no way. And as it's turned out, there was no way. We haven't got him anyway, but it was close. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out on loan. Dortmund and Napoli are in for this player as well, so I think it's going to come down to whether or not, like I said, Real Madrid are happy for him to go out on loan because the player wants to play, but they've got no intention of letting him go. He's a Real Madrid player because he's a superstar. But yeah, what could have been? What could have been? Brian Brobby and Endrick. Instead, we've got Danny Ings. So yeah, that's that. I I told you I'd let you know. It's up to, I don't give a shit if you believe me or not. It is what it is. That's what I was told. It's what I was told. And yeah, there you go. I'm a little bit gutted. All right. I'm going to let you all go anyway. Like I said, drop a like on the video before you go. I did promise you I would tell you even if it collapsed, and I have done. All right. So yeah, you can all laugh at me. I don't give a fuck. All right, bastards. I wanted him. I was really excited about it. I made a great video, but I'm not going to play it on this one. I've done an intro video and everything with his highlights, with me narrating over the top in a really sensual way. West Ham have just signed this wonderful player from Brazil. Spent about half hour making that. And yeah, I had it all ready to go, but no, wasn't meant to be. Anyway, cheers for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like on the video before you go. Come on, you ones.